This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Welcome on to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Here I am. Welcome on to the stream here on Tuesday on First Alert Weather Breakdown. Again, I am meteorologist Evan Thomason. Hopefully you are having a good Tuesday and making the most of today. Let's repeat the motto, shall we? Make the most of your Tuesday outside, because we have storms and lots of them starting tomorrow, continuing all the way through Saturday. In fact, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 4 days of severe storms, 4 days of First Alert weather days. That's right, all 4 of those days we have declared as First Alert weather days. My goodness. When I walked in, and first of all, I'll give you a little behind the scenes behind this. Matt was texting us last night. Chief Meteorologist Matt Jones, a little group chat with the whole meteorologist team. I was like, guys, is this crazy? I'm really thinking about making all 4 of these First Alert weather days. I'm like, he tried to basically get our opinion about it, and I'm like, yes, you know what, this makes sense, honestly, legitimately, because one of the big issues with these storms is flash flooding, especially for those in the northern half of the Arctic. We're going to dive into the forecast, trust me, and it's entirely coming up here in just a little bit. But I was like, yes, the main issue with these storms is flash flooding, and that expands over the next 4 days because most of these storms do not leave for 4 consecutive days, and that's such a lengthy period of time, especially for those of you dealing with those 4 consecutive days of rain showers, because not everybody's going to be facing rain in the same degree as others around the Arctic. I will share that with you again. I've kind of mentioned the northern half of the Arctic. We'll go into this forecast again in its entirety coming on up. So obviously 4 First Alert weather days here coming up in the Arctic. A lot to get through. First of all, I want to thank those of you watching on Facebook on our KSLA News 12 stream. Anytime we stream on Facebook, you usually know that it's not good, honestly, in the weather department here for the First Alert Weather Breakdown. And yes, that is the case here for it again today. And kind of just a weird setup again. Just this is the first time since I've been here personally. In the year that I've been here, obviously, First Alert Weather Breakdown is coming up on 9 months in existence, so to speak. First time that we've had 2 First Alert weather days like back to back lined up. We've never had this many. It's been bonkers for me to kind of wrap my head around, like 4 consecutive days of First Alert weather days. It's wild. Obviously, we're going to go over the full forecast here. Let me show you the agenda here for the day today. Essentially, we are just using today to go on about the First Alert weather days here over the next several days. I have no exclusive content besides that. I have First Alert weather days, just put an exclamation points on top of a very stormy forecast. And again, those First Alert weather days are in store for Wednesday through Saturday. Every day. Wednesday is the First Alert weather day. Thursday is the First Alert weather day. Friday is the First Alert weather day. And Saturday is a First Alert weather day. I cannot stress it enough. It is every day. That is 4 days of First Alert weather days. I think you get the point. Stress this system out enough. So that's essentially what we're going to talk about here for the day today. The meat and potatoes is that we're going to do 3 blocks essentially for this. Number 1, we're going to dive into the now, what's going on currently here for the day today, which today is a nice, lovely day. Then we're going to take a actually no, sorry, we're going to go over the full forecast. Actually, scratch that. I literally just made a change around in my head, and I think this is for the best. We're going to go over the full forecast first. Then I'm going to take a commercial break. And I already saw Lewis asking a question from Tex Arcana. I see you, Lewis. I will answer that question in just a little bit, I promise. That's a good question, especially with the lakes and rivers. I will answer any and all questions on Facebook and YouTube coming up in the second block, which will essentially just be after a commercial break. Trust me, the commercial breaks are going to be short. Then after that, we're going to kind of go into one last commercial break, and then we're going to recap everything in the last little segment. And see what we can look forward to. And I'm just going to basically recap the episode and see what you can look forward to from us here at KSLA News 12 and how we're going to cover this over the next several days with First Alert weather days, because we will be busy. Trust me, we will be busy. We will be here. Promise you, okay? Let's get into it. First, forecast. All right, a lot to get to. Let's first talk about the lovely side of the forecast, which is the short-term forecast, yes, but hey, enjoy the sun while we have it. lovely look on Window World Camera in Texarkana as I am getting control of my graphics. Again, if you have any questions, that's what our YouTube stream is there for, always. But now for those of you on Facebook, you can leave comments, and I will answer them. Again, all the questions for Facebook and YouTube, I will answer them in the next block, so I can kind of organize everything together, get my facts straight. And sometimes I might answer your question during the forecast, so to speak, so I don't have to go back and forth and have to deal with that, essentially. Because also, just so you know, my question for when I usually look at the YouTube and Facebook streams, I'm usually looking way over here, so I'll do that later. For now, just focus on you guys. Actually, look into the camera. Anyways, point is Mattress Plus Skycam. It's a little more cloudy in Shreveport, but we are getting some sunshine coming on down into the Shreveport-Bossier area, which is good news because I think we'll gain a little more cloud cover for the afternoon. I still have the sunshades out, though, just in case, regardless. It's a little chilly. It was for the morning hours, but it's certainly warming up. Temperatures are now in the 60s. 64 in Shreveport, 62 into Texarkana, 67 in Natchitoches. Temperatures are actively warming up a little bit more than yesterday here for the day today. And I think that's your main change that you're watching out here for your Tuesday alone. 83 in Texarkana, 81 in New Boston. Again, we're just talking about what's happening today alone before we tackle anything with the storms. Again, that's starting tomorrow and going for the rest of the next several days. 81 in Marshall, 81 Natchitoches in northwest Louisiana. Highs are in the lower 80s all around. So, you think you get the point. Lower 80s in store for today. Just so you know, highs yesterday were mostly in the upper 70s. So just taking those high temperatures from yesterday, increasing them a little bit. The same thing will happen into the day tomorrow. And overall, regardless of whether you have storms around or not, we have temperatures in the 80s pretty much trapped for the rest of the work week. Mid-80s at that, especially for Wednesday and Friday. Looks like temperatures are going to start to cool down into Saturday. And just so you know, temperatures do cool down a lot into Sunday. I'm not going to share with you what that looks like until we actually get to that 7-day forecast, but it's looking quite chilly, actually, for Sunday in the beginning part of next work week. We'll look at that later. But for now, let's take a look at the meat and potatoes of this forecast, which I know most of you are here for. Let's take a look at the IR satellite. I love looking at this picture for you guys for multiple reasons. Number one, I get to show you kind of the science of how our weather is behaving and how the how as to how are we getting these rain showers, so to speak, in the first place. So, low pressure and cold front, first of all, off to our east. Those are the storms that hit us on Sunday. That's continuing to move eastward. That's out of here. But the point of what I wanted to show you by showing you that is that we're in between two systems. We had a nice break for pretty much the entire day yesterday, and that continues again here for the day today before storms hit tomorrow. And that will be brought from the system just off to our west, which right now is bringing us some mixed showers into the Rocky Mountains, and also some mixed showers up in areas like Minnesota and Iowa, and also down into Kansas. We have a severe weather risk, believe it or not, into Kansas and Oklahoma here for today. Oklahoma outside of McCurtain County, mainly looking at central Oklahoma today, with chances of rain there with the whole line that you see setting up there with those high cloud tops. Essentially, this system is moving into the Arklatex. And the worst worry of all is that it is standing still. We'll look at that further in the long-range future track. This is the short range, which mainly just takes a look at the next 2 days after today. Today, again, just some passing clouds, but I think you'll see a good amount of sunlight still peeking on through. Then you get into tomorrow morning. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and back this up because we're on the podcast. And I can sit down on this computer and actually control my graphics a little more. Basically. Point is, tomorrow morning, you're going to be waking up to these showers and storms. Right around 8, 9 o'clock, looks like we have the first hit of some scattered storms hitting us then. That's going to hit us into the rest of the morning hours. And if you look at the positioning of these showers, most of these are just affecting areas along and north of I-30. We're talking about Pleasant, Texarkana, Idabel, DeQueen, that kind of area, hitting us essentially during the day on Wednesday. Now, once you get into Wednesday afternoon, that's when things get a little more tricky because you see some of those light rain shower cells that could mature and strengthen into some severe cells in for Wednesday afternoon. I will say there are other weather models and future tracks that appear a lot more threatening with these cells moving through, especially for Wednesday afternoon. And most of these hit, but pretty much along and north of I-20 for the most part. In throughout the day on Wednesday. This is going to be something that lasts all day Wednesday. If you go into Thursday, though, notice there's another round of scattered storms, again hitting the same areas. Those areas along and north of I-30, again for Thursday in some of these cells. And rain showers could roll down as pretty much south as the I-20 corridor, and still areas in the southern portion of the Arctotex. But the point of what I'm going to get over the short-term future track as well is the farther north you are, the greater chance you have at getting severe weather, it seems, between Wednesday and Thursday. And unfortunately, that's going to be the call for Friday, too. But look at some of these cells. Really, some of these shades of pink forming on Thursday afternoon indicate really intense cells forming on for Thursday and late afternoon. And even then, look at Friday morning. You got more lines of storms forming to our west, looking to roll eastward into the Arctotex. So again, that's the short-term outlook for how things look. Now, let's get into the long-range future track. So again, rest of today is nice and dry to kind of recap. Then storms show up tomorrow, and the worst threat with that low pressure and cold front, again, that's just off to our west here today, is that it stops. It stops on top of us. This is why we're getting consistent rounds, plural, of severe storms. First one, again, comes through tomorrow. Then Thursday. If you notice, again, the first 2 days, most of this threat is in the northern half of the Arctotex. It looks like most of that's going to stand true into Friday, too, as well, before Saturday. Finally, the system actively moves, and Saturday's threat is going to be widespread. This is going to affect everybody around the Arctotex before finally, again, as I said, it's moving on Saturday. The system is gone on Sunday. Finally we get to enjoy at least one day of the weekend, and that will be on Sunday. But again, that's after 4 consecutive days of rain, especially for those in the northern half of the Arctotex. For those looking at the forecast in Natchitoches and Nacogdoches, you're looking at kind of stray bits and pieces of rain over the next 3 days, some of which could be severe cells, don't get me wrong, but the chance of rain is a little less for areas, again, like Natchitoches and Nacogdoches over the next 3 days, between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, the rain hits everybody. It's going to hit everybody. It's going to be widespread for the entire region. All right, so let's look at the future track. Let's go into the specifics. What are we watching out for? Now, these are specifically the severe weather risks for tomorrow on Wednesday, which, to be fair, tomorrow is looking like one of the most active of the first alert weather days. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick any of the first alert weather days between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it is looking like Wednesday is probably the day I would pick to be the most active in terms of finding severe weather, most likely. That's not even a discount to Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. I'm still expecting things to happen on those days. As I said, I'm expecting more consistent things and more to happen overall all the way through the rest of this week, or more to happen overall on Wednesday compared to the rest of the week. So this is what we're watching out for. I'm mainly looking at hail and heavy rain. And what I mean by mostly heavy rain is watching out for flash flooding. The biggest threats, again, with this system, especially for the northern half of the Arctotex, is going to be flash flooding and hail. Watching out for both of those, which could be a huge, huge risk. Tornadoes, strong winds. They're less of a chance, yes, than the hail and the flash flooding, but I'm still watching out for them, and they still are likely. Now, again, these are just the severe risks for Wednesday alone. Once you get into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I will say the wind risk drops off a little bit. So does the tornado risk, in my opinion, just barely. So for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the tornado risk drops off just a little bit, but it's not zero. Let me stress that again. It drops off a little bit. The risk for tornadoes drops off a little bit for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday compared to tomorrow, but it's certainly not zero again. The only thing that does not fall off, I think, risk-wise, between tomorrow and the rest of the days is the flash flooding risk. That will be constant, and that will be great over all the way through Saturday. That's what I'm watching out for the most. In fact, this is our one weather alert that we already have set up. We have a flood watch in effect for Red River, Bowie counties in Texas, for McCurtain County in Oklahoma, and for for Little River, Sevier, Howard, Hempstead, and Nevada counties in Arkansas. So the flood watch is only in effect for those areas. Essentially, it's in effect for pretty much all those along and north of I-30 for the most part. But it just goes to show you the threat that we're watching out for. Gray stars, flash flooding, and the fact that we already have this flood watch set up through Sunday. Look at that. It's through Sunday morning. It's Tuesday. It is Tuesday, and we have a watch set up already for something through Sunday. That's incredible to me. Overall, that kind of just goes to show the kind of urgency that's being brought upon by the National Weather Service for this system. I will say, if you're actually traveling, if you notice that flood watch goes into the thick of Arkansas. Arkansas is, as a whole, is expected to actually get more rain than here. Just barely, but the bulk of Arkansas isn't underneath that flood risk. And that does include, again, most of southwestern Arkansas. So watch out for the rain, and watch out for flash flooding along roadways, especially along and north of I-30. Now, let's get into the storm severe weather outlook. Before I actually look at the specifics with this system, I want to show you one thing. I want to show you all the days of the severe weather outbreaks before I get into anything specific about any of these maps. This is tomorrow. This is Thursday. This is Friday. This is Saturday. What is in common? All of these days hold a chance of severe weather in the Arklatex to some extent. All right, so that's the big message I want to get out. Now let's go back to Wednesday and let's go over the specifics. As I said, between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have greater chances of receiving severe weather in the northern half of the Arklatex. But if you notice, though, the enhanced risk goes all the way down to the I-20 corridor. That includes Shreveport and Bossier. Now, this is an enhanced risk again. Most of our threats of severe weather on first alert weather days have come with slight risks. So this is kind of a step above that in the region here locally. If you notice, for Thursday, we don't have an enhanced risk, although we still have, again, the bulk, and especially the northern half of the Arklatex, still under a risk of severe weather, a slight risk. So that's why I said the threat for everything severe weather-wise for Thursday kind of just falls off just by a little bit, not by a lot. Into Friday, same thing. Essentially, you can just put this yellow shade as the yellow shade and the slight risk that you saw today, or for Thursday, essentially. Most of this is in store again for the northern half of the Arklatex on Friday. Then you get into Saturday. As I said, Saturday's going to be our widespread severe weather day for everybody. Everyone, including the southern portion of the Arklatex, to get their own fair share and chance of severe weather. Unfortunately, yes, for the first half of the weekend. But again, we finally clear up storms by Sunday. We are almost done this forecast. I believe this is the last graphic before the 7-day forecast. I just want to reiterate one more point to you. And by saying that I think our greatest chances of severe weather out of any of the four first alert weather days are going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow's the greatest chance of severe weather. But we still have and pose the chance for severe storms, including flash flooding, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's why we still want to put the tag of a first alert weather day still on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, because it's still possible on those days. Also, compared to earlier on the 7-day forecast, we've dropped off the rain chances for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because these are the rain chances locally in Shreveport. I have about a 50-50 call as to whether or not severe storms hit us on that day, believe it or not, which is good news. Rain chances dropped off locally in Shreveport. If you're in the northern half of the Arklatex and north of I-20, those rain chances are higher. Just stress this point again. If you're south of I-20, your rain chances are lower. That is how this essentially works. For Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Saturday, though, want to pinpoint this day again. 70% chance of storms. This is storms that are going to hit everywhere around the Arklatex. All right, now to carry over to some other things on Sunday. Obviously, first of all, you want to stay weather aware with us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to be busy around here. Sunday, we do have a chance of rain. Yes, you do see 40% chance of rain. It's not a first alert weather day. That's pretty much the leftovers of Saturday hitting on Sunday, especially in the eastern half of the Arklatex across northwest Louisiana. Most of that's going to be Sunday morning and should not hold a chance for severe weather. Again, not a first alert weather day on Sunday. If you notice, our tail ends of the 7-day forecast, today and Monday are nice and sunny. Enjoy next week. By the way, next week, it's not just Monday. Next week in its entirety looks rain-free. I can confirm this from the weather models I've been watching. I can confirm this from the 12-day forecast that I've put together. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week looks beautiful. We have time to recover, essentially. And we can look forward to lots of sunshine, dry conditions, finally drying out our atmosphere, our ground, essentially, and also giving us a chance to actually get outdoors without worrying about anything. But especially if you have to get anything outside done today. If you want to run any errands, you don't have to run them during the rain. Today is the day to do it. Today is the day to do it, essentially. Last thing I want to talk about, again, we talked about temperatures way earlier. Highs are in the 80s for most of the first alert weather days. Warm fuel for the fire. The fire in this case is the storms. We're cooling down rapidly after these storms finally exit the Arctic. We have a high temperature of 60 on Sunday. 60 degrees. We have lows down in the 40s waking up on Monday morning before finally starting to rise temperatures into next week. Even then, high on Monday is only at 68 degrees. It is going to be chilly once we get sunshine back here. It's just going to take some time. Again, you're going to have to stay weather aware. All right, I have not even taken a peek at these streams at all on Facebook and YouTube, but essentially that's the full forecast. Obviously, that took, 15, 20 minutes to go over. Whew. If you have any questions, which I probably missed some crucial info because obviously there's a lot to go over. If you have any specific questions, like Lewis did, I saw earlier on Facebook. As I said, I haven't even checked the streams. I'm going to check the streams. The point is, after a commercial break, I'm going to take a quick drink of water, answer your questions on Facebook and YouTube after this quick break. Hang around. Hang tight. All right, welcome on back to the first alert weather breakdown. Whew, man, a lot to get through. First of all, I was reading, by the way, all the comments on Facebook. First of all, thank you for all of y'all that did send in comments and questions to Facebook. I see nothing on YouTube yet, but feel free to leave a comment there. I'm going to go ahead and start answering comments and questions off of Facebook. And I was actually looking at these during the break while I was drinking some water. And I saw some very good points, especially from Lewis. Thank you, Lewis. I want to start with this first and foremost. I forgot to show you this graphic, the rainfall graphic. This is essentially key because, again, the worst fear that I have over the entire first alert weather day span is flash flooding. That is probably the greatest fear I have with this system in and of itself. And again, this goes to show the greater chances of flash flooding lie for those in the northern half of the region. Again, say it with me. The farther north you are in the Arctic, the greater chance of severe weather, and the greater chance you have of flash flooding all around the region. Now, don't get me wrong. Nacogdoches, let's start with the easier areas, so to speak. Nacogdoches and Natchitoches are still getting 2 inches of rain, it looks like. Somewhere in that ballpark, at 1.5 to 2 inches of rain. And just, on its own, that's ridiculous. That's a hefty amount still for 7 days. Meanwhile, I-20 corridor. If you're in Shreveport, Bossier area, you're looking more towards 3 inches, which is mainly just consistent rain after consistent rain, which is what's happening, but not really flash flooding per se, unless one of those cells kind of stands guard on top of the area, which could happen. But it's more likely instead in areas like, say, Texarkana, which is where Lewis is, who asked the question. Yeah, Texarkana, you're looking somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 8 inches of rain. Anywhere pretty much along and north of I-30 is looking at that 5 to 8 inches of rain outlook. By the way, if you peek behind that title, just, this is a regional outlook. Just to kind of go outside of the article text just real quick before I kind of tailor back to what's in store for us here locally. This is a regional outlook, too. Look at that. That's a hefty yellow shade. That indicates 10 to 15 inches of rain falling anywhere between areas north of Little Rock to, say, southern Illinois. That's a huge, huge rain pile. And essentially, this whole flash flooding risk goes and tailors all the way back into the Arklatex, which includes, again, essentially those along and north of I-30, because this is where the consistent rains are going to be falling for the next 4 days. These are the areas that the first alert weather day is mainly for as well. So watch out for the rain totals. Again, 5 to 8 inches for anyone along and north of I-30. Lewis also brought up a good point. Thank you for your questions, Lewis, and your comments. Amazing stuff. Anyways, the point is, the rivers. Yes, National Weather Service has been actually already ramping up their coverage. If you look at their page, there's too many rivers to mention, but there's several lakes and rivers that are currently under flood warnings right now because they're projected to maintain a high level. Now, we don't have anything too extreme to where we need to be concerned about like a flood warning for a specific river already, but I believe the National Weather Service upgrades their flood warning to like a flooding emergency for specific rivers, especially if they're prone to topping over. But most of the forecasts for what they say, I believe, have rivers just running high, essentially very high, especially in areas, again, north of I-20. So I'm just going to leave this graphic here for now as I kind of answer any all questions. So going down the list, Lewis, again, asked, is the rain going to help the lakes and rivers rise? And obviously that is going to be yes. Hopefully it doesn't get too high to where we have actual flooding from those lakes and rivers kind of spilling over in other areas, which unfortunately that could be possible. But National Weather Service for now is keeping just cautious optimism right now, so to speak, which is putting those flood warnings in place. All right, Corey, every time I turn around, here comes the rain. You just want to grill outside, cook outside. Hey, as I said, 12-day forecast looks great. Starting Monday and most of next work week, most of that looks completely dry. Even Sunday. Hey, get out on Sunday and grill. All right, Sunday looks great too. Here for the day. Sabrina, I'm from Hempstead County. Are really going to see record high rainfalls that will cause severe flooding. And how do you prepare for severe flooding? Well, 5 to 8 inches of rain is a lot. Sometimes I will say when this kind of event happens. Now I'm not sure what government agencies do or have resources for, but you can make a certain call about this. This is just from my own personal experiences. Sandbags. Sandbags are number one helper in helping make sure, especially you in your home, and the water gets into your home, so to speak. Especially if you're in extreme flooded and extreme how do I say this? If you're in areas that are prone to extreme flooding, there you go. If you're in areas that are prone to extreme flooding, then sandbags help out a lot. Because essentially they try to help muster the door, and they just add strength to the door to keep it shut away from the rain. Any rainfall outside at all. So, yeah, watch out for those rains. And again, yeah, it's going to be raining 4 days, especially in Hempstead County. That's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. Again, 4 straight days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All rain, I would almost say all day. And could that affect power outages? Certainly. Just, water, especially running water, is one of the worst things to have because it is a force. Water is a force to reckon with. I mean, you talk about currents and rivers. You just talk about this is the reason I can't swim in a river. Is because the current is so strong. Water is powerful. That's my point. All right, next question, Diane. Thanks for waiting for 6 minutes. What time Wednesday will all this start? I have a dentist appointment, and we'll be driving from Minden to Bossier. Okay, so you're driving from Minden, going westward to Bossier. What time Wednesday does this start? Let me look at another future track. Because, by the way, we're going to go to the future track for this question, just in particular. I believe I have my answer in particular, but let's let the graphic actually explain itself first. So again, Tuesday night, looks like everything's mostly clear. Maybe a stray chance of rain late tonight. But everything doesn't start here until tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be starting in the mid-morning hours. Doesn't mean it's start for the morning commute. So I think most of the morning commute, excuse me, most of the morning commute should be fine. If you're in areas like from Mount Pleasant to Texarkana, it especially starts getting rainy and starts getting ugly towards the late morning hours, especially by lunchtime. If you're in Shreveport and Bossier, I honestly don't even think we see this until the afternoon. And most of this future track is picking up the rain right in the Shreveport-Bossier area. It looks like around 2 or 3 o'clock. Take this with a grain of salt again. Overall, I would just say afternoon. Watch out for the afternoon and the evening hours and even the afternoon commute for the greatest chance of rain in Shreveport and Bossier. If you have the dentist appointment tomorrow morning, you should be fine. You should be fine. I'd say just watch out for the rain again tomorrow afternoon, anytime. This future track in particular is pinpointing it more towards 3, 4 o'clock. Let me get you another future track because we have 2 short-term future tracks. I just got to find it. And to be fair, this future track, this one that you're looking at now, has been the better performing out of the 2 future tracks that we have. The other one likes to just misbehave sometimes, but it does give us an interesting outlook as to what could happen still, so to speak. So if you're wondering why I'm just looking over into the distance to the left or to your right, I'm trying to find that said graphic. There we go. Beautiful. I found it. So this is an entire another weather model. Again, if the weather models are consistent, which usually they are, it helps us out. And sometimes it just gives us a different rule of thumb as to what could happen. So stray showers could happen late tonight. Looks like around northwest Louisiana. That's interesting to note. Then you get into tomorrow. Obviously, that's the main show. Again, tomorrow early morning looks dry. Then this shows up, and most of that's going to come in the mid-morning hour. So that agreed with the last model. Most of this comes into the northern edge of the Architects around the mid-morning hours and covers most of the northern half of the Architects by lunchtime. Then we get into the afternoon, and that's when that line tries to slowly but surely creep on eastward, and this has that line creeping into the Shreveport-Bossier area more towards, looks like 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So this one also reaffirming that greater chance of storms in Shreveport and Bossier for the afternoon, just kind of a little later in the afternoon, so to speak. And some of these storms looks like could carry on into the evening hours as well before briefly drying up late then. So that's what we're watching out for. Again, essentially, Diane, to reaffirm your question, as I was just looking over the future track, just late afternoon. Late afternoon is when the rain coming through. If you have anything tomorrow morning in the Shreveport-Bossier area, you should be fine. You should be fine. Just watch out for the storms tomorrow afternoon. Oh, man. Lauren, glad I haven't done my... Oh, yes, the plants. I feel bad for those who have started their gardens early. Yeah. Prepare your plants if you can. Today is dry. You have one day to do all that you can to help prep yourself up, prep your home up, that kind of thing. Lewis, the rain that is showing that's supposed to happen, that doesn't mean the way it was going to happen, right? Yes. Oh, you're talking about the future tracks. That doesn't mean it's going to happen exactly that way. Yeah. So when I show you 2 different future tracks, it kind of pose like different scenarios to where things could happen this way, essentially. As I said, I mainly just look at these storms for timing. When, on average, are these storms showing up in certain spots? As I just kind of explained over Shreveport and Bossier, both these future tracks are agreeing that sometime in the afternoon tomorrow, we should see the presence of storms in Shreveport and Bossier, not tomorrow morning. So there you go. Hope that answers your question, essentially. All right, so I think I answered all the questions on Facebook, YouTube. Nothing. It's fine. It's good. I've answered all the questions. Beautiful. All right. Obviously, a lot of rain to get through over the next several days. If you have more questions, feel free to actually send them. I will give you one more chance. I'm going to take a quick break, actually, and we're going to recap this episode right after this. Quick break. I'll recap this episode, see what you can look forward to from our coverage here at First Alert Weather Breakdown and KSLA News 12 over the next several days of the First Alert Weather Days coming on up. All right, one more thing to get to. We'll be back after a 2-minute break. Welcome on back to the First Alert Weather Breakdown again. We have severe storms, obviously, in the Arklatex over the next several days. I want to respond to one more comment on Facebook. Sabrina, thank you for it. She says, thank you for answering questions. Of course, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, to answer any and all questions. Obviously, we will have coverage on this throughout the rest of this week. Now, for those of you who have lasted, I know I've seen my viewership drop a little bit on Facebook and on YouTube. For those of you who have still hung around this long in the stream, I got a treat for you. All right, you know that 7-day forecast that I showed you earlier in the show. Well, guess what? Joke's on you. This is the real 7-day forecast. Check it out. We have a high of 44 tomorrow, a high of negative 289 on Wednesday. I have pi on Thursday. I have 318. Ha ha ha. Did you get anybody? No? Maybe? It's April Fool's. Look, I can't do this during a show, okay? I did this on my Facebook page, but I just wanted to leave off with a quick break. I know I can't make this the forefront of my talk, obviously, with severe storms, on for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let me show you the actual 7-day forecast to recap. Look, it's not every day you get to pull up like these kind of graphics. So a high of E on Sunday with a 40% chance of. First of all, these are not really icons that I think I've ever touched at all here at KSLA News 12 on that totally legit 7-day forecast. Okay, here is the real 7-day forecast for you again, kind of just to reiterate everything going over. 82 here today. It's sunny here today. Again, we have rain showers Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You want to make sure you're weather aware with us here again over the next several days. Happy April Fools to you. Okay, I needed to pull up that stop at least one time or another. All right, briefly. Sorry, I just loved pulling that together just for a quick little laugh. All right. Obviously, the storms, yes, are no laughing matter. To be fair, if the First Alert Weather Day was on April Fool's, I don't think I would do anything if, the April Fool's was the First Alert Weather Day. But since I'm prepping up for storms not happening until tomorrow, I can do it. Anyways, point is, hope you enjoyed the laugh. Hopefully you did. Anyways, sunshine here today. Sun's not back out until Sunday, looks like. Yeah. 4 straight days of storms. Especially for those in the northern half of the Arctic, you want to make sure you're weather aware. Again, tornadoes are still a possibility on any of those first alert weather days. So you want to make sure you're weather aware with us here at KSLA News 12. We will have first alert weather breakdowns every single weekday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. For the rest of this work week, we will essentially just be going over first alert weather day coverage in real time. We'll get you the latest info. We'll get you the latest data, the latest future tracks, the latest answers. You get the point. We'll go over it all coming up in an extended first alert weather breakdown. Again, we'll be streaming on Facebook pretty much for the rest of this week. So come on with your questions. Come on with your weather reports. If you're seeing anything actively, this is a great stream to kind of let us know, hey, this is happening in my community. We'd love to come help you out. Come help you out a little bit. Help share your story with us here at KSLA News 12. You guys, I always like to say this, as much as the radar helps me out and, shows me storms from obviously the studio here in locally in Shreveport, you guys are actually on the ground. You are the ones experiencing your weather conditions wherever you are around the Arctic. You are the best eyes, to the community to tell us, hey, don't go on this specific road. I've seen that it's flooded. Or, hey, trees are down on this area. Please don't travel around here. That kind of thing. My power is out. When's it going to come back on? That's that kind of thing. We're here to help you out, okay? We're here to give you the latest info always and help keep you weather aware with the storms, obviously, on the horizon. All right. I'm going to get off. The rest of this week is going to be completely busy for me, obviously. The stream was supposed to end at 11, but hey, we always extend this in case days like this happen. So, busy week for you and for me for the rest of the week. But hey, I will be there with you every step of the way. I promise. All right? We'll get through this together. We will enjoy the sunlight when it comes back out on Sunday. Make the most of the rest of today. Enjoy the rest of your dry Tuesday. I will see you again tomorrow, 10:30, on your first alert weather day on Wednesday. Peace out, and stay weather aware. Peace out.